Hi, this is Alkemy with the weekend edition of the Bulletin Board Heroes. It is Saturday, the 17th of December. Starting off with the FTSE 100, where there was a rather grisly end to the week with a bounce, or at least a move down to the 200-day moving average, 73.20. That was always a risk once we broke that uptrend channel there from the beginning of October at 74.30. And we still have the joy, or potential joy for the bears anyway, of a test of 72.70, which is the 50-day moving average. Maybe a chance that this is the low, given that we're going into the last full week of trading for Christmas. Maybe most people just got out at the end of last week, but at least while we're below 74.30, the chances of a Christmas rally and any breakout of 7600 seems a long way away. So risk at the moment down to 72.70 and the 50-day moving average. Moving on to the DAX, which I suppose in some ways led the way on the downside at the end of last week. Here, an unfilled gap to the downside, and the only positive compared to the FTSE is the way that still above its 50-day moving average around 13,700 and the 200-day line rising around 13,600. That's the downside that we are guessing at the moment, and only back above the 14,100 area, which was basically neckline support back in November, really cancelling the idea of further moves to the downside. Moving along to the Dow, and here we've got a situation similar to the DAX, I suppose, breaking that October channel and heading towards the area of the 50 and 200-day moving averages. 32,500, the 200-day line, so that's the risk at the moment, and we need to see basically a move back above the November neckline there, around 33,200, to cancel the idea of further downside for this market, which I suppose could be back down to November support 31,750. But at the moment, just looking for some kind of rebound near the 50 and 200-day moving averages. RSI now below 50. Did bounce off that quite nicely earlier in the month, but that was obviously, or became, a false signal. Moving on to Bitcoin, and plenty of false signals there all year, I think. Here we've got a situation where it's looking actually rather better than the indices. We had the expected move up towards the 50-day moving average, but a bit disappointing that we couldn't get up to that resistance line there from August, around 19,400. At the moment, it just looks like we've tested or overlapped old 18,000 support as new resistance, are heading down again. Initial support here towards 15,300 with a risk of a move down to the floor of that October trend channel around 13,500 sometime in January. The only positive, or the best positive at the moment, is where the RSI isn't quite below neutral 50 yet, just on 50, so maybe there's a rebound over the next 24, 48 hours, but at the moment it just looks like another 50-day moving average failure for Bitcoin. Onto the stocks, and difficult to find the really hot ones at the moment. We had quite a tumble for many stocks over Thursday and Friday, especially in the small cap area. Here for Alkemy, we've got this rising trend channel from back in July, floor of the channel and the top of that gap there, around £2.60. Above that, we're looking for a move to the top of the rising trend channel from the summer as high as £5, maybe by the end of next month, although obviously we need to have a bit more consolidation there. End of day close through 320 would be a decent momentum trigger for a move up to 500 if you don't want to be sitting around on this situation. But ideally, the shares remain above 260 in the top of that gap from last month. On to Blue Star, which I know has a lot of fans, maybe one or two more fans at the end of the last week, with the bullish divergence, bear trap there from below October support at 0.12, and breaking that resistance line there from November. Managed to close on the 50-day moving average, which is quite a nice signal, and that means that there's now the scope once again for the shares to get back into the low 20s, to 0.21, 0.22, at the top of that broadening triangle from September. This stage only back below, I suppose, 1.3 to 1.4, that resistance line there, really delaying the upside scenario, potential upside scenario. This stock, the next stock, created quite a splash earlier in the autumn, and a very good looking chart here, unfilled gap to the upside, old resistance becoming new support, and actually support coming in above old resistance in some cases. And so at the moment, it looks like we've got a sideways or mid-move consolidation ahead of a new leg to the upside. The rising trend channel from October has its resistance line projection heading as high as 26.27 pence, and that is valid certainly while we hold above recent support in the 12 pence area. So above 12, looking for 28 on BSF. Onto a stock which I don't look at very much, and probably nobody else does either, but Directa Plus. Wonderful bear trap there, so a bear trap gap reversal. Obviously an overshoot there, but we also had bullish divergence to lift the stock, and it looks as though the shares are going to head back up to the top of a broadening triangle here from back in August as high as 105 by the end of next month. Stop loss, I suppose, the best at the moment. An end of day close back below recent swing low at 87 pence should do the trick. Maybe you allow it down to the 50-day line at 84, but mid-80s should support the shares ahead of a move towards the 105 area. Galileo is next, and here decent consolidation over the last 2 to 3 months. Maybe disappointing that it's taken so long to consolidate, but we have bounced off the floor of this rising trend channel, and we are still well above the 200-day line at 1.2, above that, looking for 1.9 at the top of that August trend channel. If you want a momentum trigger, which can sometimes be useful, end of day close through 1.45 would be the green light on a technical basis for Galileo. GreenX Metals, one of the best looking charts around at the moment, so rising in step fashion, old support and new resistance distanced. Here you can see the old resistance there at 24, let's say, and the new support at 26. So pretty strong chart there, and that step progression could take the shares up to as high as 50 pence by the end of next month, especially while we hold above the mid-20s. So looking pretty good on GreenX. Harland Wolf had a good end to the week with I think the RNS came out, and we've just broke that line of resistance there from last month around 21.75, which I think I talked about yesterday. Looks like we're in a rising trend channel from the beginning of last month heading towards 40 pence, maybe as soon as the end of next month while we hold above recent support at 18 pence. So looks like a reasonable setup there for Harland and Wolf. Also bounced off RSI 50, which can be a decent continuation signal. Moving along to Utopia, which got promoted, or has been announced that it's promoted to the main board of the LSE, which is quite an achievement, especially in current stock market conditions. Here we just broke a line of resistance there from last month around the 12.5 pence level. And while we're above the floor of that rising trend channel from August, looking to as high as 22 pence by the end of next month, or perhaps even sooner. Only back below the 50-day moving average at 10 pence, really delaying the upside scenario there, and what looks like a very nice triangle breakout. Going on to a stock which has very little publicity, apart from maybe what happens here on Bulletin Board Heroes. We've got Mineral and Financial. Beautiful progression there since that unfilled gap to the upside in September, so that was really the starting gun on the move. And the situation now is that we're looking for a decent upside, perhaps up towards the 27, 28 pence level, which I'm trying to find the origin of that trend line. But let's say that was from the early part of 2020, so above 18 pence, looking for that 2020 resistance line as high as 27 pence by the end of next month. I can't say it's not been a long consolidation there at Mineral and Financial, and wouldn't expect any price action really much below 17 or 16 pence ahead of a move to the upside. Manx Financial is next, and this has been another of those vertical situations. You sort of wonder why you don't pick on these stocks rather than the ones that maybe most people look at on a fundamental basis, but we've had a vertical move over the last 2 to 3 months, and could hit that line of resistance from back in 2016, heading up to 26 pence over the next 2 to 3 months, or perhaps, the way things are going, much sooner. One of the stocks of the year has been Prospex, and well done to all concerned there. Looks like we're getting higher highs and, well, higher lows at least, and looking for higher highs. Rising trend channel here from the end of July. That's heading towards 16 pence, hopefully by the end of next month. 50-day moving average around 11 pence, and certainly while we're above that, we're looking for 16 pence. Line of resistance there at 13 pence, so that's the initial barrier, and that's been the stock's been grappling with that for the last couple of months, but that should hopefully give away soon, given the way that support is now coming in well above the 50-day line. Just 3 stocks to go now. First is Oriole. Here we've got a situation where we gapped up at the beginning of the week. It was a bear trap gap reversal, which is the sort of thing we like. 2 successful tests for support above the top of the gap. So that's, for me, a decent additional buy signal at 0.12 and above 0.12, looking for as high as 0.25, maybe as soon as the end of next month. But back below 0.12, then one would obviously slow down the potential timing of the upside. Seed innovation is next, and it was surprising that the market was so, I suppose, horrible is the only word that you could say to the stock after its Leap gaming news, but we had a bear trap rebound, rising 50-day moving average, and that's currently around 2.6 pence, above 2.6, at least looking for 3.4, even in current rather nasty stock market conditions. Finishing off with 7 Digital, and here the picture is that we've had decent breakout over, well, basically since the beginning of the month. Nice tight flag there, and support coming in at the old late November resistance, 0.37. About 0.37, and especially while we're above the 50-day moving average, trading at 0.31, looking for the top of that rising trend channel from the beginning of the year, as high as 0.6 pence over the next 1 to 2 months. That's it from me today. More updates during the week.